Hey, Off-Season After Dark fans, glad to have you here for episode 34, and we continue our cycle around Conference USA. So our most recent episode, as you remember, was FIU. Now we have Collin Neill here from Sam Houston SportsTalk to talk about Bearkat football and how everything is going in their world. So first of all, Collin, want to thank you for being here, taking the time to come on the show. I'm glad to have you here. Finally, someone to talk about Bearkat football. Just a little bit about, let you plug yourself a bit. So what got you covering Sam Houston? How long have you been doing it? And what's your ties to the school?
So I'm a May 2024 graduate in mass communications with a minor in sports media. I worked for the athletics department for a couple of years, and I basically just graduated, and I kind of had nothing else better to do. And I was like, yeah, because I couldn't. I moved back home, so I was like, you know what? I would like to start. I would like to start talking about Sam Houston sports, and then I asked my good old college buddy of mine, Luke Scott. He said that he was on board with it, and so we started doing it. And we don't just cover football; we cover basketball, volleyball, soccer, baseball, softball. Baseball and softball is pretty big right now.
Yep.
With it being in season. They're both of them deep in the conference season. But yeah, we got a YouTube channel. We got a Twitter/X account, Instagram, Facebook. You can find us on all of those. Sam Houston Sports Talk. It's the same name for everything.
Yeah, and for our viewers there, this stuff will be tagged and everything, so it'll be easy for them to find and add you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we keep it simple. No. We're Sam Houston Sports Talk, talking Sam Houston sports. It's in the name.
You said one thing there I want to get clarity on. Several of my guests, similar to you, have or they follow all the sports that a school does. I really only talk about football, but a lot of them, follow the other sports. Mm-hmm. Is Sam Houston in Conference USA for all major sports?
Yes, for all major sports. Oh yeah.
Okay. Because I know some we have, we're here and there with some sports, but I wanted to confirm that they were. So yeah, glad to have you. Should be a fun episode. So I think the first thing I usually kick off with is kind of a little bit of a post-mortem on last season. So a lot of changes last year for Sam Houston, obviously. Casey Keeler was a hell of a coach. There aren't many better in the country. You're looking at total wins. He's right near the top against every active coach. He's won everywhere he's been. Lost him, went home to Pennsylvania. He's at Temple. And Phil Longo came in. And year one was a struggle. I like his resume. He's coached at a lot of big schools as O coordinator. I thought it was an okay hire at the time, and certainly his first season didn't go well. And I even remember having a few other CUSA guests on, and they thought some of your fan base didn't like the hire. But how did you feel about it, both at the time and then now? How do you feel about it?
Well, at the time, I didn't think it was going to be Longo. I was thinking it was going to be Powledge, who was the defensive coordinator at the time at Baylor. But that would have been an interesting hire there, as well as he had his defensive play calling duties taken away. And of course, Longo was fired as the offensive coordinator for Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I don't think Sam Houston had as many options as people had thunk at the time, mainly because of the stadium renovations that were on the way. So, and I heard that Longo was I just heard that Longo, it was Longo's job, and from the almost the get-go, really. I've heard some others were in contention as well. Personally, as I grew on, though, I underestimated. I think we all underestimated personally as a Sam Houston base how hard last season was going to be with the stadium renovation, a whole new basically feel and look of the program. 55 new players. Almost over 30.
I didn't realize that number was that high. That's
yeah, no. And the number of transfers that came after the spring was crazy. I have the exact number here in my notes. It was 33. 33 out of the new 55 players came after the spring, and a lot of those guys were key players.
That's over a third of your roster that didn't go through spring ball. That's significant.
Yeah, and there's a whole thing about spring ball which I sometimes don't get, where I think spring ball is as important. It's not like fall camp. It's not as intense. It's not as crazy or whatever. But spring ball is just basically a nice, good first chance for the coaches to go ahead and start like, hey, everyone has pads on. They're going to go at it, and it's a nice time to see where they are performance wise. But overall,
Yeah, it's probably less important in making your depth chart, but more important in learning the system.
Yeah,
in the spring.
And unlike this time last year, Longo was also trying to put together a full coaching staff. It took a while for him and the few uh few people that he was with to put together a whole new coaching staff, and combined with the chaos of the portal at the time and fielding a team, renovations, it was a tough time. I mean, you are correct though. A lot of people probably at the time and even during the season didn't like the hire. 2 wins in Sam Houston football is unacceptable in all measures. It is downright unacceptable with the winning culture that has been here over the past couple of decades, especially with what Willie Fritz, Ron Randleman implemented, what Keeler implemented. But it was out of the ordinary, to say the least, even though a couple of years before it was their first FBS season where they only won 3 games. So the pressure is on right now. Longo has all but one staff member on his coaching staff returning. We got a new offensive line coach in Jack Bicknell Jr. It's going to be all of their guys. They have set the roster. They are ready to go. They had a full portal cycle where everyone is there. They had a plan. They executed it, and now it's going to be what goes on when the rubber meets the road in August.
Yeah, I was talking with on our group show SEC After Dark last week, because they always ask, guest wise, who you having next, and I said, having you on to talk Sam Houston football, and I mentioned that was, I think, a day after Bicknell had been hired as O-line coach, and our guy that started, he's an Ole Miss guy, so Bicknell used to be the O-line coach at Ole Miss, and he was at Auburn, Louisville, Wisconsin, North Carolina, was in the NFL forever, and then a guy that I had coached with years ago, he played for him at La Tech when he was the head coach at La Tech. So certainly a very experienced guy, both college and the NFL. So thought that was a very good hire to go along with the continuity you're getting at every other position.
Yeah, I think last year a lot of the problems, especially on the offensive side, it all started. It's like the old saying goes, it all starts up front, and in this case, up front was extremely inconsistent. Then again, it could have something to do with all the other stuff I labeled out, with the whole not being at your own place, new coaching staff coming in, with a lot of the guys that were on Keeler's team last year in the 2024 bowl season. Unfamiliarity, trying to adapt to a new system, a new offense. We were going from a spread RPO option offense to an air raid. It's definitely a big return, but with Bicknell Jr. now coming in, you have a guy that has been with Longo and knows what Longo wants along the front. It's going to send out a much more consistent and clearer message.
I think so, and you'll get protections that are matching what you want to do at the QB position, which obviously you have to have any kind of continuity and more effective communication. So, and you mentioned a few of these things. For those people that out there that aren't aware, Sam Houston, their home stadium was under renovations last year, so they were playing in Houston, not Huntsville, at the Houston Dynamo MLS stadium. So how much of a difference do you think that made last year?
Oh, I think it made a great difference. I mean, it's a 70-mile or so trip to downtown Houston that they would have to make every home game week, combined with the travel they already had. I mean, they started the season with a conference road game in Bowling Green, Kentucky at WKU. They also had to go to Hawaii. They also had to go to Oregon State. Like it was a lot of travel, and it hampered them a lot. I mean, yes, this is a home game on record, it is, but it was still true. It was still a road game because you're not sleeping in your own bed. You're not preparing for the game at your own facilities. It was definitely it's an excuse, but it's a valid excuse, as I would like to say. It's just
Yeah,
it's just
I
totally
almost,
different.
for me, it almost borders on a reason more than an excuse, like it, because it's a real thing and it
Yeah,
certainly affects you. Um,
it's yeah,
so
it's and that and man, it was the attendance wasn't what we thought it
no.
would be as well.
Let me ask you, in terms of visuals, aesthetics, amenities, what does the new stadium look like? Is it pretty
So
nice?
So the press box is up. The exterior seems like it's almost done. It's just going to be the interior part. I know that they were going. There was talk that they were going to do a test run, like game day wise, for for the spring game where where anybody's going to be able to attend and check out the new team. I personally don't know if that's going to happen because if we all know a thing or two about construction projects, they never finish on time. I've never heard of anything about it not being ready for the
Okay.
2026 season, but it's gonna be new club level seating. I mean, you've seen the previous press
Yeah.
box before.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been inside it.
I have
But
been. I've been on there, and then the film deck on top.
Mhm. I mean, you remember how kind of run down it was.
Yeah.
Like this was a change that needed to happen. It and also you were going to be getting they're going to be getting a new scoreboard, so it's going to be brand new.
Very
It's
nice.
going to look bigger. They're going to have to have to build up and make it taller because of how big the press box is getting and how much bigger it is. I don't know if you've seen the recent pictures, but it's coming along really nicely. I mean, honestly, anything is an upgrade over what was
I've only
previously there.
seen the mock-ups of what it's supposed to look like when it's done,
Mhm.
not the in progress pictures.
Okay, yeah. There, but yeah, it looks pretty decent. I mean, like I just said, anything is an upgrade from what it was before.
Good. No, that's awesome. I'm sure it'll be a benefit, and just playing at home, especially for students going to the game, people in the area. It's just such an easier commute and
Oh yeah,
a better
absolutely.
way to get there. Yeah. So going into this year, the schedule doesn't look a ton easier. I mean that season opener non-con at Troy, they won their division last year. They were better than I expected they would be last year. Jared Parker's doing a solid job there. And then you also go to Texas Tech as your last non-conference game. So could be, a tough. I'm blanking. I know Nichols was the FCS game. I'm
Mhm.
blanking on what was the other non-conference game.
Tulsa.
Tulsa. Okay. Now, was that in Oklahoma or is it at home?
It's at home. It'll be Sam
Okay.
Houston's first home game of the season. So
Nice.
I
Okay.
anticipate that's going to be a very highly attended game. I mean, I mean, Tulsa is not exactly the opponent people would think of. Like, oh, it's going to be a big game. It's a big game in the
Yeah.
sense of this will be Longo's first home game for the program he's building since
I
he got here.
suppose. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's some expectations this year. There's some expectations this year. That's for sure.
Let's dive into those expectations then. I also think they're going to be quite a bit better. That roster, it looks better than it did last. They certainly lost some guys, but I think on paper the roster looks better than it did last year, provided you can replace that O-line. And we talked about that a little bit off camera. But let's start right at the top. Hunter Watson gone at QB, the dude who seemingly had 6 years of college football and he played a lot of ball. We saw him play a lot, but then Toyer left in the portal. Will Landon Locke be the QB?
As of now, I view Landon Locke as QB1, and it's his job to lose. I've had heard that they like the freshman QBs that are coming in, Brett Holloway and Mason Holtzclaw. DJ Bailey apparently
Yeah.
was impressive to Longo in the last drive he had at against FIU in the regular season finale. But as of now, I see Landon Locke as QB1. It's his job to lose. He has at the couple times I've seen him in spring ball, he looks physically more impressive. He's definitely packed on a lot more muscle, and I was impressed with him in the reps that he got last season. Um, I I do, but yeah, overall, Landon Locke's the guy right now.
Okay. Then you had mentioned, wasn't Holtzclaw, like him and Holloway were both decent recruits, right? Like around the same as each other, ratings wise.
Yeah, I mean, Holtzclaw is probably the biggest, a little more highly rated because I mean, he came from a really good high school in Georgia, in Carrollton,
Yeah.
Georgia.
Yeah.
And Carrollton High School, I've heard is a really good program out there in the Peach State. I do. I haven't seen them. Obviously, they're not on campus right now. There's only
Yeah.
3 freshmen that are currently on campus and doing spring ball with a team.
I saw that number was way smaller than I expected when I looked at the spring enrollees. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's gonna right now. It's Cato June Jr., DB from Indiana, Caden Winkfield, Aledo High School. He's on campus, and wide receiver Ty Sexton. Those are the only 3 freshmen on campus. So I haven't been able to check out Holloway or Holtzclaw outside of their high school film.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, but it seemed like Locke played in about half the games last year, so I had assumed that he would be, or at least have the first crack at that number 1 spot.
I mean, he was QB3 to begin the season, but even Longo in his first press conference of the season when he was asked like who was going to be the guy, it's interesting. The coaches you would think only mentioned the top 2 guys, which were at the time Watson and Matoyer, but he would also sneak in Locke every now and then, and it's like, interesting. Okay, but then Watson, of course, got hurt. Then Matoyer had to step in, and Matoyer, by all means, did not look impressive at all, besides a few bright spots. Then when Locke came in that second half against Oregon State, as Longo put in his post game interview right after the game with CW, he's like, we just needed to provide a spark, and when Locke could ride the wave, they won the next game against Delaware, but then of course the freshman lows started showing, and but it's there with Locke. I like I said, I don't see any other reason why he wouldn't be QB1.
Yep, I remember that was a wild turn of events. You go to Oregon State and win. You beat Delaware, who was good in their first year.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go and lose to one of the worst FBS teams in the country in Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, those last 4 weeks were very interesting.
Yeah, and then the FIU game wasn't even close.
Oh no, what Coach Simmons is doing at FIU currently is something very impressive. With how
like I said, my last episode, I had Jake, who's an FIU guy, and he was raving about him. I mean, they're very happy with where they're at. But with more with Sam Houston, looking forward to next year. Coco Brown's a pretty good running back. We saw him play quite a bit last year. Other than him at that position, who are some guys you expect to be in the mix?
Well, Alton McCaskill is back. I personally did not know that he had already had 1 more year of eligibility, so he's going to be back.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, he's going to be back. I mentioned Caden Winkfield. I think he's going to be. He might be interesting, but also Amarian Gaines Smith. He was injured for a lot of last year. He a JUCO transfer. He came in, was I believe he was one of the first guys that came in the portal in that spring of 2025. So he's he might be a little bit of dark horse.
And I feel like that could be a change of pace because he's kind of a bowling ball shaped guy, real thick and big.
He's a bruiser. I mean, check out his film if you haven't, because he's a bruising runner. But unfortunately, he was hurt a lot last year. I mean, that running back room was honestly hurt quite a bit. That's what propelled Coco Brown up to be an RB1, and all of a sudden he finally shined. I mean, we've heard lots of rave about him from Keeler. A lot, but we never really saw him on the field, and got his chance finally, and he really impressed. I mean, he became a fan favorite for sure.
Good, yeah. Then at receiver, you return probably your two best with Grady O'Neill and Chris Reed. I mean, they're both in the mix, and then you bring in Cayenne Barry Johnson, who from Wisconsin, so has had a history with Longo. And then there was another port. Was it NC State they brought in a receiver from?
Yeah, Christian Zachary.
Okay.
That's one guy. Also, a name though that I was given as a standout was Austin P transfer Kamari Maxwell. And when I saw him, I was impressed. I mean, I don't know much about scouting players and all that, but I thought he looked impressive in drills, and he's going to be. I think he's going to be a key guy anyway, because you need somebody to start opposite side of Chris Reed, who came on after the halfway point, in the middle of the halfway point of last season. They just didn't have that other guy they can go to on the outside to help, to help out the slots. Because if there's one thing about Longo's air raid, is that he really relies on slot receivers.
He does
a lot.
Yes, always has.
And like you said, Grady O'Neill, the big question for him is, can he be consistent in the catching game? When his run after the catch is really good, but can he haul in those footballs? They also brought in Holy Cross transfer Elijah Kaysen. They still got Avion Smith-Mack, Tim Burns, who came on a lot. I'm sure he's going to be still.
He played a lot last year.
Yeah. So it's a much deeper room. The growing theme of this Sam Houston squad is that a lot of them, if not all of them, are much deeper.
Good. And then we'd mentioned O-line. That's where, probably there's the most question marks going into the year.
Yep.
Josiah Chenault coming in from Kennesaw State, and then Donnell Nix from Appalachian State. Two guys I think, Nick should probably start at that on one of the tackle spots. And what are some other names that you're hearing up front?
I would look at maybe NC State transfer Brock Stooks. He brings good size on the interior. Isaac Sohn, he didn't play a lot last year, but when I saw him go up against some 1v1s with the defensive lineman, I was pretty impressed by him. I didn't see a lot of it because I was trying to transition to other parts, because I wanted to check out as many position groups as I can. Logan Cahill, he redshirted last year, a freshman, a redshirt freshman this year. He might be someone to keep an eye out on. Elijah Collins, Western Carolina transfer, is also an interesting name. I
did see his name. Yeah, he was a name I did come across.
This is almost a whole new position group. Like we mentioned before, this is whatever starting five goes out onto the field against Troy. It is going to be all five. It's going to be all five brand new starters. Starting at left tackle Luke Eckert, graduated left guard Meach Joseph, William McCollum also rotated in there as well. Meach Joseph transferred and McCollum graduated. Our center, James Dawn II, he graduated. Right guard, Rhett Larson, transferred to Western Kentucky. And, of course, as you know, right tackle Colt Dietrich transferred to Washington. So it's going to be a new five that Landon Locke's going to have in front of him, or whoever is QB1 against Troy. And it'll be interesting, especially with Jack Bicknell Jr., like we've mentioned before, with him now being the offensive line coach, and what can he get out of these guys is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think that's the $1 million question for everybody. Just it's so tough having to replace all five of them, and it's not like you guys are in a unique spot with that. I mean, with all the G5 people that I'm having on the show here, it seems like any good young O-lineman you have, one of the Power 4 schools is gobbling them up in the portal, like happened with Dietrich going to Washington. It's just tough to keep those guys at your school when the money's out there and the notoriety of some of those schools. So, yeah, it's I think a theme across the G5, G6, whatever you want to call it, that there's not going to be a lot of continuity up front from year to year.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it across college football, the main thing that almost always separates good teams is how they are in the trenches.
Yeah.
And
And
I think,
having depth, and especially depth at the trenches, which is so much better at the P4 level.
yeah, this year though, the depth, the room is definitely, I think, is honestly better, just based on all around of what they have behind potential starters.
Okay, good. Then on the defensive side of the ball, Freddie Autry-Lindsay comes back as D coordinator. What are some of the talking points on the defensive side of the ball in the spring?
Personally, I'm not really familiar with what they've been exactly working on, but I will tell you that what Coach Lindsay wants to do is they want to be ball hunters. They want to go after the ball. I mean, what the defense was really known for last year was how many fumbles they forced. They forced quite a few fumbles last season, which gave them a lot of opportunities. It's just the defense. There were some interesting points during the season, like play calling wise, if especially that Jacksonville State game where they gave the Gamecocks that nice little out route, little bench route to the outside that allowed them to get out of bounds and get closer for a field goal. And that 57-yard field goal that was made, I mean, it just barely made it, but those 5 yards were a big difference in that game. That was really an eyesore amongst the base. But this year they have a much more complete group. I'm pretty sure they're going to be preaching the same thing, like, hey, go hunt for the ball, go get it. They're going to be moving around all over the place, of course, with the base nickel defense. It's going to be
so my Marshall people here that are following me. Similar defense because Autry-Lindsay was an NC State guy. So was Tony Gibson, our head coach. So those two guys coached together for a while. So sorry to cut you off there, Collin, but I was trying to let our viewers know that the 3-3-5 is very polarizing to some of our Marshall guests, and you guys are running about the same D, and it's Rich Rod ran at Jacksonville State and does WVU too. So
no, simple, just hunt for the ball. But the tackling, I hope is better improved. The tackling wasn't good last year, so hopefully that's going to be an improvement heading into next season.
And at that level, if you're not good at tackling, teams are going to run on you. You're going to give up first downs and lose the time of possession battle all the time.
Yeah, and also a lot of MAs as well. Lots of missed assignments that could be found. Of course, it just, and sometimes blown coverages and man-to-man defense wasn't the best at times. So this should be, like I said, this should be an overall much more improved group, especially with the guys they brought in.
Good. No, that's good to hear. Yeah. And in terms, some of the portal guys that stood out to me, Jaden Fry coming in from Boston College, didn't play a ton on the edge there, but he was a BC guy. And then Elijah Groves, an aforementioned NC State guy, coming in at inside backer. So hopefully he can shore up some of the tackling woes there. What were you going to say there?
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to kind of start looking at, so one of the things we talk about a lot in here are, not only the team, but the conference as a whole. And then one of the articles I wrote that just published today was the coach's hot seat list for Conference USA. So let's start out going into the season. Who do you expect to be the contenders in CUSA? Do you think Kennesaw can put together another good year and get back to the title game or close to it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any. I know they got a bit poached in the portal quite a lot. I mean, that's just kind of reality of how it is a little bit.
Yeah,
but I like what Coach Mack has done over there in Kennesaw, Georgia. I mean, what they did under his first season was pretty unprecedented. I don't see any reason why they at least won't be back to a bowl game this season, and still remain as a contender in CUSA. Western Kentucky, of course, Liberty. Those are the names. Those are two coaches that have some expectations this year, especially Liberty with Jamie Chadwell. Last 2 seasons have been stinkers, especially, and I'm sure Jamie Chadwell and Liberty wants to try to hit like, hey, you need to give us something, or that's why I agreed with Chadwell. I believe you had him at number 2 on the coach's hot seat.
I did have him at number 2. We can go to this list now. And
Cool.
yeah. So, and part of that rationale with Chadwell at 2 was, I think Liberty, similar to WKU's probably in this boat as well, their expectations are way higher than everybody else. Maybe Jacksonville State is getting in there, but for Liberty, just making a bowl game and being there isn't enough with the amount of money they're spending and the resources they have. They're expecting to be conference winners pretty much every year, or at least in that conference title game.
Yeah, and Charles Kelly, I mean, I see he's at 7. I mean, but I see him as the same job security as Mack, Helton, and Simmons. I mean,
yes, I agree.
Jack State has been a consistently good program ever since they came up to FBS, along with Sam Houston. I mean, you can probably move things around with the top 4, but this list, I think a lot of people would be like, outside of 5 through 10, they're going to be safe unless 5 through 10 is safe unless something drastic happens. But 1 to 4 is this list is pretty good.
Yeah, for me, like, I think you could have argued Helton as the safest. Why I had Mack a little safer than Helton is the expectations. If WKU started losing, Helton would be on the ropes faster than Mack would after last year, because they've just won more at WKU and they expect more. Where at Kennesaw, he gained himself a lot of grace period after last season. So did Willie Simmons. He's in that group too.
Oh, yeah. That's
for me. The number 1 is easy. I don't know how Derek Mason still has a job. I don't know that I would have kept him after last year.
Hey, they won they won 2 of their last 3 games, if I remember correctly. That included over Sam Houston at home. I believe they won 2 of their last 3 games, so maybe they want to try to,
they won their last 2.
They won their last 2. Okay, so they won. They probably, in their heads, they probably just one. They probably can't afford to fire him, or there's 2. There's not anybody that they view as better out there, or 3, which I think is this option. They want the momentum from the end of last season to hopefully brew into the 2026 season.
It's probably a combination of both of those, the last 2. Like, realistically, that's a tough sell, because in terms of facility-wise, they're probably the worst facilities in the FBS. They're in rough shape there. Money-wise, they're not. I mean, it's a wonder they got stock still to stay as long as they did. I don't think I would have gotten rid of him if I was them. Like, he wanted to be a lifer there, I would have let him. Maybe they didn't realize how good they had it with him. It wasn't great, but I think he was keeping them afloat better than most guys could have there.
Yeah, the last game he coached was against Sam Houston, and there was a little bit of a exchange of pleasantries after Middle Tennessee missed that field goal. I'm sure a lot of people remember that. I mean, I've heard, I don't know how true this is, but I've heard that he was fired before they landed on the tarmac. So,
okay, maybe I remember the play. I didn't know there was some squabbling after that, but I do remember the game you're talking about.
Oh yeah, there was a bit of a squabble. They just took it off the air pretty quickly.
Okay. And then you put Chadwell and Sanchez, I had at 2 and 3. Like we said, for Jamie Chadwell, this is a team that is expecting to get 9 or 10 wins a year and be in, contention for conference title games, not go 4 and 8 and 3 and 5 in the conference. Even the year before, when they were 8 and 4, that was a disappointment based on their standards. Then you win half that many games last year. Losing Keaton Salter hurt more than I think they expected it would. And just Ethan Vashko couldn't throw a forward pass effectively, really hurt them last year. So
yeah, and they couldn't really get in, and thus it didn't really give them any grace for their run game. I mean, I saw in your article that the run game just went down exponentially.
Their average rushing per game was 101 yards less than it was the previous year. They went from 294 to 193. Yeah. So, and then I'll be honest, with Tony Sanchez at number 3, there are very few good things I have to say about him as a head coach. He was very poor when he was at UNLV. I mean, he was 20-40 in his 5 years there. He took over a team that was great under Jerry Kill. Now, we expected there would be some regression. It was unrealistic to think he would continue that, but you also didn't expect to go to 3-9 in his first year. And then they went 4-8 last year. So to me, based on how they've been and his performance as a head coach, I don't know how you expect him to be the guy that takes you forward as a winning coach.
Yeah, and they have a new athletic director in Joe Fields, and I'm
I
sure.
didn't know that. Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some eyes like, hey, prove to me why I should keep you here. And if Tony Sanchez doesn't, if he doesn't perform, and I mean, I agree. I just don't see any other reason why the Aggie administration would keep him there.
Yeah, and I think especially there, like you get further out west around where they're at, there's some solid FCS coaches in that area that you could get for that job, I think. So I don't know if it's as tough a sell as some other places would be. Then in the middle here, Longo, I have at 4. I think it's some people might put him higher on the list, in hotter, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I didn't think he was on as hot of a seat as Sanchez. Part of that might be that he's only entering year 2, and you hate to give up on a guy that quick. But we are in a less patient world of college football now, so there's that.
Yeah, you have to start winning now. If Sam Houston, this team is much better than last year. I mean, last year was just. I mean, even on the roster, like if I just look at the names right now, I can, and with what I've saw out in spring ball, the 2 times I was out there this past Thursday and this past Saturday, I could just go out there and like, hey, the vibes are much different. The culture seems to be good. The coaching staff has been together for a while now, and they're much more familiar with one another. I think it also. I don't know if Longo is still going to be calling plays. I tend to subscribe to the fact that he will be still calling plays, or if Zach Patterson, the offensive coordinator, is going to take over that role.
I would be surprised if Longo gave it up just based on what we know, but who knows?
Yeah, but there are expectations this year. There are going to be less, if not no excuses this year. Like you're home now. You're playing in your home stadium. You've completed your first full transfer portal cycle, and I think the worst case scenario is that they're 0-3 after losing to Nichols, and if that's the case, that's the only case I see that Longo it gets let go mid-season. The problem is like, can Sam Houston afford to fire Longo? I inherently disagreed last year with a lot of the talk of them firing Longo mid-season, even though it's his first season.
Yeah, you can't do that year 1 mid-season.
And by the way, how would it look on you? How would it look on your athletics department firing a guy in the middle of his first season while not playing any home games whatsoever? And with the travel he had, with the roster he had to try to build, the coaching staff, like how would that look to other coaches? Like, would they want to be going there? Like, oh wow, they've gave up on this guy in the mid-season with all these obstacles that he had to overcome. It would just look very bad. And plus, I don't think Sam could afford the buyout at the time.
I'm sure you're right about that. Yeah, I have to admit. How long was the contract he signed initially? I don't know the answer.
I forgot. I'm pretty sure it was a 3-year deal with
I would have assumed at least 3 or 4.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay. But
yeah, sorry, I can't remember on the top of my head.
That's okay. No, you're good. You're good. But yeah, I was just looking at that schedule like you talked about. Then you have at Troy, Tulsa at home, Nichols at home. Then you go to Texas Tech. Then you start the conference schedule with New Mexico State at home. Then you go to Liberty before the bye week. So you have 6 games, then the bye week.
Yeah, what I don't know if the website is right or wrong on Go Bearcats, but it says the first that the Mexico State game is on a Friday, but I'm pretty sure that with how the Conference USA released the schedule, it's a Thursday game, so it'd be on October.
This one says the first 2 conference games are both Thursday. So
yeah,
it says New Mexico State is Thursday, October 1st, and Liberty is the following Thursday, October 8th.
And that's where the schedule helps out a lot this year, is that you have 2 Thursday games, you have that bye week, and then you have 2 Tuesday games. So it's going to make it easier for Longo and his staff to adjust to the midweek schedules. The midweek Conference USA, which has grown in popularity in this past years.
In fact, Marshall plays a Tuesday game next week. So that week early in the year where CUSA's not playing Tuesday and Wednesday, and the MAC hasn't started it yet, the Sun Belt is playing midweek games early on.
Yeah,
it's the 2nd or 3rd week in October. I forget which one, but yeah, we got a Tuesday game.
And hey, people love their people love their football. I mean, if they can get it on a Monday, if they can get it on Tuesday, people are going to tune in. Probably not as many people as probably on Saturdays with like the bigger programs, but hey, so there's a lot more sickos out there than people think.
Yeah. So looking at the schedule, that brings us to the curious case of Louisiana Tech, who both Conference USA and the Sun Belt have put on their schedule for next year. Tech has made it clear they would like to play in the Sun Belt. For those of you wondering about the coach's hot seat list, I will include Cumbie in the Sun Belt list when that comes out later on. He was not on the Conference USA one. To me, it's they want to play Sun Belt. The contract that determines their exit says that, yeah, they can get out by next summer, but they also let CUSA know too late. So you have both things, going on there. What do you know about the situation that most of our viewers don't?
Well, I don't really have any insider information. I can tell you, though, that the one thing that really hurts Louisiana Tech's argument is what you mentioned, the bylaws indicating that they let Conference USA know too late. And Conference USA, as far as I know, is okay with them leaving. They just don't want them to leave with little to no consequences.
Okay.
And that's
that's reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yes. Is there not a favorable view on Commissioner Judy McLeod and the conference as a whole with how they've gone down a bit over the past few years? Oh yeah. But you should not let your bias get in the way of straight facts, in which is, La Tech let them know a couple months too late and they signed the contract. I just don't see how Louisiana Tech can get out of it.
Okay. A lot of money is probably how they could get out of it. If they're willing to pay more than,
Yeah. Hey, at the end of the day, if there's something that I know, lawyers always win.
Yeah. Because they're working for a paycheck and commission and an hourly rate. So, good for them. But, it'll be curious what happens. I don't know. That brings me to an interesting hypothetical, which I've talked about with some people before, though not in a while. CUSA in the last few years was kind of in a survival mode where it didn't happen this year, but before, any teams that were jumping up from the FCS, CUSA would take them for needing teams to fill out the roster. They didn't get NDSU, they didn't get Sacramento State this year, but who do you think some contenders could be when we expand the conferences, when more teams come up from FCS? Have you heard anything for possible additions? I assume Tarleton State could be one if they come up, or Stephen F. Austin. But really anybody that moves up from FBS could be a player at this point. I don't know.
I mean, the most consistent one and the most loud one I've heard is Tarleton State. I don't know what's exactly the holdup. I don't know if there's something that we all don't know that's probably preventing them from making the jump. I mean, the WAC's gone now. I mean, it's now just the UAC.
Mm-hmm.
I outside of Tarleton State, I don't know any other school I could see moving to Conference USA. I think right now the conference is going to be staying where it is right now for the time being, unless something comes up.
Yeah, I know Tarleton would be an interesting one. So years ago when I was a grad assistant at Northwestern State, Sam Houston's coach at the time was Todd Whitten, who is now the head coach at Tarleton. So that was the Rep Bomar days when he had some pretty good teams at Sam Houston, and he's now the boss at Tarleton. So, but to me, they seem like an obvious if any movement there happens. But looking forward to this year, we talked a little bit about some of the other CUSA teams, the year 2 teams. So Delaware, Missouri State. I think Delaware is going to be pretty salty again. Minicucci coming back for them was a big move. That roster looks all right. Missouri State, losing Beard to Coastal and then bringing Casey Woods in. There's some more questions there. I don't know what's going to happen there. But what about those 2 teams in year 2? What do you think?
I agree with I agree with what you said. Woods, I think, was a good hire for Missouri State.
Yep.
I mean, it does. I do thought it came out of nowhere. Beard going to Coastal Carolina. Now I don't know if it's just a resource thing or a money thing. I don't know. Excuse me. I don't know what
it probably is, because they're resource-wise, they have to be doing better there. The one thing I thought with Beard would be that he might wait it out a little longer at Missouri State and see if Ty Helton leaves Western Kentucky, because that's his alma mater and where he started coaching.
Yeah.
So
Delaware, of course, led by former Sam Houston offensive coordinator, the one I was there during the national championship days, Ryan Carty. That was a surprising result that Sam Houston beat Delaware. I personally didn't see us winning that game. Especially with how good Delaware was doing in their first year in Conference USA with Nick Minicucci, who I saw in person for the first time, and I was honestly very impressed.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why Delaware should falter other than, what I like to call the sophomore slump. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in their second year.
It's such a unique team to watch too, because you look at Minicucci's there, but at receiver, it's like with the way they sub them, like with hockey lines, where they just bring 3 or 4 guys in at once, and they're playing so many different receivers, in regular intervals. But they did decently in the portal. Kadarius Roberts, who was at Bowling Green's pretty good running back, and then Dwayne Lofton, who was a decent receiver at Vautech. He was at Oklahoma State last year, where he only played in 1 game and was hurt, but he could be a decent receiver there. So that Delaware roster looks pretty good, I think. So
I don't see any reason why they should falter this upcoming season, except for that sophomore slump, like I mentioned.
Yeah. What about, we talked about Liberty, both expecting them to be better. I don't know in terms of competing for a conference title how they'll be, but I feel like there's no way Liberty can be as bad as they were last year. Like, the bar is pretty low. Like, they have to be better than 4-8 with the resources they have in that roster. And Chadwell didn't forget how to coach. They were bad last year, but his record is really good overall.
Yeah, and I mean, Chadwell was, there were some murmurs after after they won the Conference USA championship that maybe he might go somewhere higher up, like Power 4 wise and all that. But the Flame fan base I know is very passionate in Lynchburg,
Yep.
and they want results this season. And like we mentioned before, if they don't get them, I could see Chadwell very much being shown the door.
Yeah, I mean, and the
especially
transfers the portal guys they brought in on offense were Jalen Henderson and Deshaun Purdy, both at QB from West Virginia, Wake Forest. Kanye Udo was at Arizona State, was a stud at Army before that. Cam Davis from Florida State, like Mekhi Jackson won a national title at Indiana last year. Like, these are big names from big programs that Liberty's bringing in because they can afford these guys.
Oh yeah, but they can also afford to fire their coach mid-season if they don't have the results that they
Yes, they sure could. And you feel like for them, most of the G5 jobs now, G6, whatever you want to call it, you're either hiring a younger guy or a guy who's never had a head coaching job before, like a Charles Kelly or a Longo. Well, Longo did years ago, but you get what. Or a retread like Derek Mason. There's very little in between there. Liberty's one of the outliers. They could hire a successful coach away from another G6 school like they did with Chadwell because they have the money. Mm-hmm. And you're a step ahead when you can do that. It's just how they are.
Yeah, they got a lot of money, that's for sure. I saw it firsthand when I worked for the athletics department and went up to Lynchburg in the first season of FBS for Sam Houston. I mean, the stadium is impressive. The presentation's impressive. The aesthetic is nice. They have a loyal fan base, like I mentioned before. I'm
curious, their fan base there, have they been loyal for a long time, or is it a new thing as they have new money?
As far as I know, I thought that I've always thought that they've always been there, but I could be wrong in that aspect because I don't know much about Liberty post when Sam Houston joined, or pre Sam Houston joining Conference USA.
Did those two join? Liberty might have been in a year or two before them, right? They didn't join the same year, did they?
I believe. Well, Liberty was in the ASUN for all their other sports. I think they were FBS independent in football, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. Okay.
You're probably right. I was trying to think when Sam Houston joined. Did Jacksonville State join the same year?
Yep, Jacksonville State joined the same year along with New Mexico State, who were FBS independent for quite some time. That's right. I forgot about New Mexico State. Okay, that was it. Good call. Yeah. I always ask this as we're getting near our hour. Some of the questions I always ask as we're winding down. One of them has been our main talk. So I'll show this for the last time here. We had Derek Mason as my coach on the hottest seat for the conference. Do you agree with that? Do you think would you put him as the coach on the hottest seat going into the season? Oh, I don't think there's no question about it whatsoever. I mean, it's no secret what the results have been at Middle Tennessee. I mean, I think I could just end the argument right there. The results on the field have not been impressive. If Mason doesn't show any signs of progress, I can't see him staying in Murfreesboro for too long. No, I agree. Yeah. Now, the question I follow that up with, and this one in CUSA is tougher to think about. Which coach do you think is the most likely to get hired by a P4 school? So who do you think is most likely to have a good season and get poached by a P4? I have my answer. I think there's two that are likely, but I want to hear what you have to say before I give mine. I mean, if Kennesaw State has somewhere as close as the year they had last year, I could see Jerry Mack getting a power job. I mean, the thing is, what's interesting heading into this season was how chaotic last season's coaching cycle was. I mean, it seemed like everyone was getting fired left and right. It all started, of course, with James Franklin at Penn State. That's kind of where the dominoes started to really fall. and the coaches getting fired mid-season, and some coaches that were getting fired. Like, oh, that's kind of crazy. I didn't expect that. So
and Florida and Arkansas went pretty early. LSU, there was the whole drama around Lane. I mean, there was a lot going on last year.
yeah, there was a lot. So I don't think the options are going to be as prevalent there's coaches going to get 100%. Fired. Yeah. But if there's one I could see very well, if they have this almost the same season as they did last year, I could see Jerry Mack, maybe Willie Simmons.
I was going to say Mack is my pick as well. I think, the background at Tennessee and Rice helps there, but Simmons could also be in that boat. There certainly is a path where, Willie Simmons was very good at FAU. If they have a good year, and I think Helton is less likely, but if they keep winning games every year like they do, a P4 team might offer him. It could happen.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't he rumored to be in the running for the Purdue head coaching job?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured.
He certainly was. And that, going back to the well, because, that's where they had hired Jeff Brom from WKU, and then they lost him to Louisville, hired Ryan Walters, and then that obviously didn't work out, and they went with Barry Odom. The other one I heard Helton mention for, where was it? It might have been Vatek before James Franklin kind of fell in their lap, and that one happened.
Yeah, no, it was,
which wouldn't have been shocking.
Yeah, it was a no question hire for Virginia Tech.
It was absolutely. Yeah. Do you have any going into this season? Do you have any bold hot takes? Any predictions or things to look for that you think people might not be aware of? I don't know what I do at this point, but
it's a very hard. Yeah, I was about to say it's a very hard question right now.
It's early that's a good question. I always ask in the summer. We're pretty early to ask that question, though.
Yeah, I mean, spring ball's still going on for a lot of teams, including Sam Houston. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I see a headline talking about bold takes for Conference USA or predictions. I wouldn't be surprised if I see one subject being Sam Houston making a bowl game, which is an expectation this year for the Bearcats. And it's really, I think it's an expectation this year, especially with the base, and it's my expectation as well that they make a bowl game, because they need. If there's one thing that I know that they want to do is start winning, especially after last year, and try to make that 2-10 year an absolute afterthought. Like whenever.
No, I mean that's that. Certainly, I think you'll be better than last year, but that schedule's no slouch next year. They have some of the better teams in that conference. It won't be easy to do that, especially when you consider non-con at Troy and Texas Tech unlikely to win those games. Troy more likely. It's still first game on the road. There's going to be tough.
Yeah, Troy, and it's also really tough to win at Troy.
It is. Yeah,
they've had they did get on the downside a little bit last year when it came to home games, but it's still very difficult overall to beat Troy. And like you said, they made the Sun Belt Championship last year, so there's still some momentum there. I mean, they just got beaten by a good JMU team.
Yeah,
they kept it close for a while, but JMU, of course, ran away with it.
They did. Yeah, and that JMU team was good. I know Troy did. They have a new offensive coordinator. I'm blanking on where their old one left for, but that's neither here nor there. But I know most of their coaches did stick around. But I think that'll be a tough one. And that Tulsa one, if you beating Tulsa will go a long ways towards getting to bowl eligibility. I think if you drop either that one or Nichols, that makes winning 6 a lot tougher.
Yeah, no win is guaranteed, but guaranteed win I see on the schedule in non-con is Nichols. I do think they can beat Tulsa, especially with it being the first home game in quite a while.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, like, hey, from their perspective, like, we want to win this game. We want to do better at home. We wanted to do good at home this year. And I think, and if you're going to have any chances of making a bowl game, you have to take care of business at home. And they
You
want
do.
to.
Yeah. I'm going to look at Tulsa's schedule. The opener does not get easy for them. This is an odd one. Tulsa opens up with Oklahoma State, which will be the first game of the Eric Morris era for Oklahoma State. But somehow Oklahoma State agreed to a home and home with Tulsa. So it's at Tulsa, which
And
I wouldn't have thought they would have done that.
Also beat them in Stillwater.
Yeah.
God,
but
Tulsa's going to be facing
team last year.
Tulsa is going to be facing very similar offenses back-to-back weeks.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah. Tulsa didn't slouch anybody non-con. You got Oklahoma State, Sam Houston, and Arkansas. So
wow,
they're taking those payouts. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the Golden Hurricanes do this season. But yeah. If Sam Houston comes out of non-con 2-2, I think I don't see any problem with that at all.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, because you'd like your chances at, getting 4 of those conference games. So that would be big. But yeah. So we've reached our conclusion here, Collin. We're just past that hour mark, but wanted to thank you for being here. I appreciate it. All of our followers, you've seen the ticker at the bottom. You can go to Sam Houston SportsTalk and follow Collin, both his personal one and their site one. I forget, Collin, what's your co-host name?
It's Luke Scott.
Luke, that's it. Yeah, and his info was also on the page, so he'll be easy follow there as well. But thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
No problem. I'm feeling spring ball. I mean, it's spring ball, but I'm already just ready for some football heading into August. This season of Sam Houston football is a highly anticipated one. It is going to be there's going to be a lot of eyes on it. And with Longo heading into his second season, can he find a way to make up for last season? Because like I said, last season is a very dark cloud over everyone's minds, even though it ended 5 months ago.
Yeah.
And Longo's gonna have to perform this season. This is a better team. It's just about, on paper it is, but it's going to be just about bringing all the pieces together.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, you definitely have to improve anyway.
Oh yeah.
But thanks for being here. Appreciate having you, and take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.